Windsor Town Council Meeting for August 1st, 2018 to order. If everyone would rise and join with me the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hold the microphone. All right, first I want to thank Councilman Palsgrove for hooking up our sound system. The last meeting we had here, people said they couldn't hear, so hopefully you can hear better now. So thank you, Ed. Really appreciate it. Our meetings are recorded electronically. We go by an agenda. Anyone wishing to have a subject or item placed on the agenda should have had it to the town hall by the previous Wednesday by 3 o'clock. We ask you if you have a specific item that you want to talk about other than the water and sewer or the trash collection, we ask you to sign up over here and we will call you during residents' concerns. Council approval of council and work session minutes from the July 11th, 2018 meeting. Tab 3, Donna has emailed those out to everyone multiple times. Do I hear a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Smith, seconded by Councilwoman Schultz to approve the council and work session minutes for July 11, 2018. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, so carried. Going to go out of order with the agenda. Down under new business, I had Veterans Banner Project update, and with us tonight I have someone that has been very helpful to get this up and running, Arnita Sowers from Tawnytown. Arnita, if you'd like to talk a little bit about the program, greatly appreciate it. I know you've done a lot of work up Tawnytown and Union Bridge.
Yes, I have, and I do have to say that this project, Military Banner Project, has been one of the most rewarding projects I've ever worked on in my life. It is, for those of you who are not familiar with it, it is a program that honors all our veterans, active duty military, any veteran that served in the United States military, overseas or at home. So it is to honor them, it's to show them that we greatly appreciate their service, their dedication to our country, and that we remember them, that they are not forgotten. What this program is, it's a banner program, and we have the banners made, and they are double-sided so that you can see them. In Tawnytown, what we did, for the month of May, they were hung for Memorial Day, and coming up for November, they will be put back up for Veterans Day. Probably the last week of October through Veterans Day, they will hang, so they're, for the military holidays. Again, with this, you submit the application with the veterans information, photo and informations, and we had the banners made and hung them on our street lights down through town and out by Lance's. Now this year, coming hopefully for October and November, we are working very closely with Potomac Edison to try to use some of their poles. We're trying to get a contract with them because in Tawnytown, I don't know how it is in New Windsor, but in Tawnytown we couldn't use any of the electrical poles. We had to use just the street lights that were, for the town purposes. I ran out of room, so we had a great response. I had a total of 72 banners hanging for Memorial Day. I have an additional 35 to add to that as of right now for Veterans Day. So I'm hoping that contract goes through very quickly so that we can get the apparatus and everything on the poles to get the banners up. So basically that's what the program is, to honor our military veterans, active duty, or those we have. I also have some, this is my son. I have another one of him. It says KIA. So we have, for those who were killed in action, it is made out a little bit different at the bottom where it says the KIA and gave the dates for that. They were hung on the square in Tawnytown. That's where the mayor and everybody council wanted them on the square. We had 3 KIAs for Tawnytown to be put up. So, again, it honors all of our veterans, and just to say, it's a small, very, very small token. However, just to say thank you, we remember, and we are so, so grateful for the service and their dedication to our country. So, okay, do you have any questions for me?
Now, I'll go into a little bit more detail under new business, but I just wanted Arnita to show what she has done up in Tawnytown and Union Bridge.
I would say along with that, yes, once I got Tawnytown up and people were, could actually see the product and how it was presented, Union Bridge came on board, so I worked very closely with a representative from Union Bridge. I also worked with representatives from Hampstead. They were up and running for Memorial Day. And this program is clear across the country. I mean, we have it in Hancock, Hagerstown, Waynesboro, Ocean City, various numbers in New York, various cities in California. I had an email from a person in Morrisville, Vermont, who was originally from the Carroll County area, received a Carroll County paper when the article went in the paper with the photos of it. He contacted me and wanted the information because he wants to get it started in Vermont. So I would love to see it in every city in Maryland where Maryland can say we're proud of our veterans. So, but yes, it's across country and it's in various cities, and Union Bridge and Hampstead are on board already and working with you to help you get it on board.
Well, thank you for coming. Also, thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Reports, council committees, Public Works, Councilman Hoffman.
Good evening. The Public Works crew have been very busy this past month. Besides doing their general mowing and picking up yard waste, just a reminder, yard waste first and third Wednesday of each month. They have been doing some repair work on some of their equipment. Due to the large amounts of rain and storms that we've had, they've been spending some time. There were some downed trees on Atlee Walking Trail that they had cut up. There were some concerns about some black storm water inlets that they had cleaned out, and they had to do some grading on some road washout from the heavy rains. They've also been doing some road patching. You may have noticed around town, they did some road patching in the Blue Ridge development. They've done some patching on Spurline Avenue, also Lambert and Hillside Avenues, and they have other alleys that they have scheduled as well to do some patching. If any of the residents have concerns of holes or bad roads, they can contact the town office, and we'll make the Public Works crew aware of that. In July, the Planning Commission also did meet. We accepted the site plan for the proposed modifications to the Heart Service Funeral Home property.
Thank you. You're welcome. You also want to touch base on Music on the Main, the activity you took care of Monday, I think?
So the Music on the Main activity, you may hear more about it later in the report. One of the things that we do have is a beer garden at the Music on the Main event, and I have had the application into the county for that liquor license to take care of that.
Thanks for taking care of that.
You're welcome.
Any questions or comments for Councilman Hoffman? Water and Sewer, Councilman Palsgrove.
2 items to share. Number one is to underscore the issues that we continually face with our aging infrastructure. Manager Gary Dye provided us with some pictures of one of our recent water leaks on the lower end of Church Street. We've had 3 leaks within the last 3 to 4 weeks. First one was on Code Drive. The second one was on a Friday evening at the lower end of Church Street, and then just a couple days later, another one on the upper end of Church Street, right close to 7-Eleven. So we continue to experience these, and I think it's timely that we dealt with the approval to replace all of the water line in College and Blue Ridge Avenues at our last meeting. We got a really good price on it, but it's one of those things that when you have an opportunity to do a fair amount of replacement of piping, in the long run, we're a lot better off than going after and dealing with individual leaks like this. I will thank Jack Coe and Neal Roop also for staying up all night on that first Church Street leak. It took a little bit of time to run down somebody that was willing to come out, but we got Mid-Atlantic Utilities to come out on that Friday evening and had it fixed by about 7 o'clock on that Saturday morning. So we're thankful to those guys that got down in the mud and took care of that for us. Second thing I'd like to do is to clarify an article that you may have seen in the most recent town newsletter, and that's where it stated that the resolution that we passed May 21st having to do with the structure of our water and sewer rates, it says it was passed to reduce water and sewer rates. That may not be a fair way of saying that, and so to clarify that is that resolution, what it did was to reduce the percentage of annual increase that is applied to our usage of both water and sewer. We had been increasing it at 5% with this new rate structure that we're doing. The usage increase will be reduced to 3%. But because there are some base fees that are going up, it's kind of a wash in there. So it is correct in one sense that there is a reduction, but the overall result of the application and the application of the rate structure and what this resolution does is to flatten out those increases. So hope that's helpful.
These are the pictures I took for the lower Church Street. I have a couple extra copies if you want to look. We do not have an aging infrastructure anymore. It's old. When it's 112 to 116-year-old water pipes, they're just old. They're not aging anymore. And what they did was take out a 42 section of pipe. Doesn't look like it would leak a tremendous amount, but water was flowing with enough pressure to actually raise the road. These guys came down out of Pennsylvania. They were starting around 2:30, and by, as Councilman Palsgrove said, 7 o'clock they were done. And these two guys in here, I've never seen two guys work any harder than what these guys did. Now, Steve, I haven't seen you work for Westminster, so. But these guys, I mean, they were just nonstop. They didn't waste a minute getting the problem fixed. Now, there were some people that responded by saying we should have waited till 7 o'clock in the morning. We're going to fix a problem, especially like this, that needs to be fixed right away as soon as possible. If it's 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, we apologize for the inconvenience, but our water lines are going to be high priority, especially for people that may have to take a shower in the morning, flush their toilet in the morning. This was available by the time that most people got up. So to wait till 7, 8 o'clock the next morning, I think would have wasted a lot of time, and people would have had to wait till Saturday afternoon to get the water line fixed and their water back on. I want to thank Councilman Palsgrove for filling in for me for a couple hours until I got back in town. I was out of town that evening. And also Jack for doing an outstanding job for being up all night as well. So thank you. And these guys are doing great work, but these fractures in these pipes, as you can see, are just going to continue. So we need to start looking at replacing whole water lines instead of just piecemealing. That's not going to do the work that we need to be done. If you notice on TV, usually in the winter, Baltimore City has a lot of major water pipes that break. That's because, in my opinion, they haven't been preparing for it and haven't been putting money aside, where we have been doing that since 2010, probably, 2011. And now we are able to fund these projects without tapping in too much of our funds. So, thank you. Any questions or comments for Councilman Palsgrove?
In the lines with the granting infrastructure, I'm glad to hear that we have a reserve, but we all know once we start digging, these are going, as you point out, it's going to increase more. Do we have enough of a strategic reserve in place to handle that problem without having to hit the principle of elevation of the water rates more? This is only going to tie into more of the infrastructure issue. So what I'm hearing is a warning, because it sounds like the negligible decrease that we were expecting isn't happening because it was a description of a protracted disbursement of an interest rate. But where are we going with this? Because this sounds like it's going to be a very big cost.
It will. With the college in Blue Ridge, we had reserve in there to cover that. Main Street and High Street that we're replacing, that is part of our streetscape project with State Highway Administration. That, some of the, I don't have a exact figure, but some of that we were planning for that project is already built in to your base rates. The other main resource of revenue will be from the connection fees on the remaining houses that will be built at the Reserve at New Windsor and Snyder Summit, and then also 4 houses over on Lampert Avenue. That comes to, I think, 164 units. And over the next 3 to 5 years, I feel comfortable. Now, the housing can take a crash tomorrow. However, you know, we can only plan so much. And in that 3 to 5 year period with the connection fees, over a 5-year period, the connection fees for both sewer and water average about $17,000. So you multiply that by 164, I think you come out to $2.7 million.
On new development or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, now, not 100% of that will be designated just for Main Street and High Street. We'll have other projects in the next 3 to 5 years that will have to use some of that, but I feel comfortable that $2.7 million will be coming into the town.
Okay.
Are we ever going to be 100% prepared? No. You know, there's always going to be something. We have a 116-year-old main water line from Bowersox to, Dennings to Bowersox to town, 3.5 miles, that needs to be replaced.
Would there be a possibility of non-procurement of funds being, if we go through a fiscal cycle, we have X amount targeted on the side, fiduciary for that responsibility, but if we don't have a break, could there be a percentile alleviated from that fund to alleviate current water bills that are going around town, a small percentage while still keeping a strategic reserve for repairs, but drafting maybe interest or unused funds over the period to help with alleviation on rates? Because we're facing a many-headed hydra. We have this, now we're going to have the infrastructure, which is now, from what I see, I'm not seeing a large incursion of people coming to build in Windsor. If we're not getting people to get those connection fees, we're not going to make up that difference. You know, those buildings that we have on the slate, that's great, that's now. What happens when we exceed that fiduciary allotment we put to the side with a major break? Now we have a problem. That's just where I'm feeling a fear, because I don't really see any decrease in rates coming. I only see increases coming.
Well, I will disagree with you, because I do see decreases coming on a couple of different avenues. One, even though we just passed an ordinance that puts a 5-year schedule for rate increases with the addition of new housing, and the Reserve at New Windsor is moving fairly fast. I look for that to be built out in the next 2 to 3 years. Snyder Summit, I really do believe will probably be 3 to 5 years built out. Again, I can't guarantee you that. However, my philosophy is, and I've already instructed our town manager to take an annual look at the revenue, because after we get, let's just say, out of those 160 over 5 years, 30-some homes will have not only that base rate, but they'll also be paying, and I'll show that in my presentation later, everybody is paying a certain amount on the loans. So if we have another 50 homes that adds to paying those loans, then that loan will be spread over more people. Right now, we're looking at 570 units that we spread our loan across. Another 50 homes, then we spread it against 620. Those rates can drop. Does everybody understand that? And I'll have, and if we do it, just because 10 houses come on, I don't know, but annually, I'll have our town manager take a look at that and then make recommendations, and we can always, pass another resolution.
Right, and I understand that, but that's in the base contingency where all the prime that you have in there stays the same. Everyone's paying their water bills, there's no delinquent charges, there's no other breaks. We continue. That's it all holds the same. What I've been seeing as a trend over the past several years in meetings is it's always changing, it's evolving. As pipes break, things happen. It just seems that we're going more to always scrambling for spreading it out. We're not solving the problem. And I'm not seeing a decrease in rates. That just keeps on circling back to it. Is now we're talking pipes and infrastructure, and I'm sorry, I'm just seeing we're pushing the problem away. Yes, we spread the interest rate up, but we're not paying down principal. We're just spreading it out. And I just got lost in my
I think it'll be helpful when we listen to the mayor's presentation here to see to look at the whole big picture of all the projects that we've been dealing with for the last 10 and 20 years. So bear with us on that, okay?
And if I can also just add, our former town manager, Mr. Schaefer, plotted this out, pretty much what we've been doing. So it's a lot of detail, so I could see why, for all of you who don't see it all the time, like we do, some of it could get lost, but there's not really anything new here. For years, we've had built-in slight increases so that we could build up that pot of money, so that when a pipe broke a couple of weeks ago that was well over $200,000, we had money. But we don't see that as going on forever. And like the mayor said, one of the things that's going to hopefully go away eventually is the loan, which will help. So, but I think that Councilman Palsgrove is right. It's probably easier to see some of it too.
And in 2010, we had $64,000 in our enterprise reserve fund. And that's, we've had a $30,000 water main fix up on Main Street. A big cost of that is the requirement from State Highway Administration on blacktopping. What is it, 50 feet by 6? When you blacktop on a state highway, even though you may only have a 6 by 6 foot hole. We do every now and then get a waiver on that because of the bad shape that the street is in, and then we're also working on streetscape. But yes, it took, it hit everybody really hard. But we are in better financial shape than what we've ever been in an enterprise fund. I can remember many years ago, probably 79, early 80s, the council would have to take money out of the general fund to pay for water and sewer expenses, and that's not a good policy. That's not good financial stewardship. So, and I'll get into more of what we're doing for the future, and there's no guarantees, but I foresee the rates going down.
Yeah, the May 21st resolution says that the base sewer rate will be $85 for the entire year, but in the newsletter it says you're going to raise it to $95 in October 2018. Can you explain that discrepancy?
Well, what that's referring to when it says 18 or 19, that's a fiscal year. Fiscal year of 19 begins July 1 of 18. Does that help?
No.
Okay. What is it?
$85 a quarter, July 1st of 2018 through June 30th of 2019. So why is it going up to $95 in October of 2018?
October is when you see your bill for July, August, and September of 18, and that is in the fiscal year of 19.
Oh, it is?
Yeah. Yeah, the fiscal year of 2019 begins July 1 of 2018. That's the way all of our financial reports and budgeting and everything goes.
That's our fiscal year. July 1st to June 30th of the following year. Good questions. Anyone else? What's that?
Since the budget's, we start the new fiscal year, any surpluses?
We usually have some, yes. I give credit to our clerk treasurer, Donna, for keeping us on track, and council for spending money wisely as needed and not foolishly. So, that's one area, though, in the general fund that we do not have really the reserve that a lot of municipalities have. Do we want to raise taxes just to have a reserve? No, but that's something that we are always looking at to have a reserve, so that if something major happened, we would be able to pay for it. But that's future years, hopefully. All right, thank you. Public Safety, Councilman Smith.
I will defer to the deputy for his report to give you all the ins and outs and numbers and everything. Throughout the county, in my day job, I get to hear a lot of the police banter on the radio and a lot of calls. And the thing that I have noticed is stuff like vehicles being entered into. And most of the time, their windows are not getting broken. It's simply because we're leaving doors unlocked. And I certainly do remember a time in Carroll County when you could have left your doors unlocked to your house, and those days have passed. So just to remind everybody, keep your doors locked on your cars. Any valuables that you may have inside, please hide them from view, or better yet, take them in with you. I know that, I'm guilty of it as well. But that's the problem that we've seen throughout the county, and I only imagine it's a matter of time before it comes here. Overall, it's been quiet. I haven't received a lot of complaints from citizens, except for the same speeding complaints, and I think our deputy is well on track to taking care of that. The council has committed to looking at some options to try to curb that a little bit better. But just look out for one another. I know it's vacation time, even though with the rain, a lot of vacations are getting canceled. But if your neighbor's away, keep an eye on their house. And certainly call the town, or better yet, call the sheriff's department if you see anything suspicious. Let us know about it, and we'll take care of it for you. For the numbers of what was done during the month, I will defer to the deputy. I just want to remind everybody, I'm sure he will also, August 7th, Tuesday, August 7th is National Night Out. We hold that down here at the carnival grounds, and Deputy Calusi has said that he has topped anything that's been done in the past. So I'm interested in seeing how that goes. We've had a good time there, and I think he's increased the vendors a little bit. Has some more exhibits that's going to go on, so that's going to be kind of nice. More law enforcement agencies are now involved, so that's kind of nice. And I'm looking for a good turnout for that. So mark your calendars on that for Tuesday, August 7th, down here at the Carnival Grounds, and he'll give you more details on that. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councilman Smith, I did email the mayors around the state to see how they handle not only speeding, but what we call pass-through, especially Lampert Avenue. It's either a pass-through or shortcut, whatever you want to call it, but there's a lot of traffic that goes through town that way instead of taking Route 31. I'm not sure why. I guess GPS tells them to go that way, but you got like 3 more stop signs than on Route 31. So it should be a nice, quiet environment over there, but they have a tremendous amount of traffic, so it's something that we're looking at, and I have some possibilities that other towns are doing. Any questions for Councilman Smith? Economic Development, Councilwoman Schultz.
Okay, the Carroll County Downtown's Economic Development Group did meet recently, and the projects that they're working on, again, are the Small Business Saturday. I don't know how many of you saw the passport that we've been doing for the last few years, where we encourage people to visit local businesses. I think they're going to do that again. And the council is aware that We've been developing a public service announcement with Carroll Media Center. The generic one is done in draft form, so I will email that out to all of you for looking and commenting. And then they're expecting to finish filming this week and start compiling the local ones for the jurisdiction, so hopefully I'll have that for everybody next time. This is sort of my other hat, unofficially. The mayor and I manage the town Facebook page, and since there's a nice group of you here, I don't know how many of you use the actual town official group, not the, what's the other one? Citizens Union. No, there's something like that, but the actual town official page is managed by the mayor and I. Just since there's a good-sized group, I just want to tell you a couple of things. The mayor and I do pretty much on our phones, I think, while we're doing our other jobs, monitor it all day long, but I don't think it's a great place to go to get a problem solved. If you post something and I'm available, and if the mayor's available, I will try to direct you to whomever in the staff can help you, but if you really need something done right away, then it would be faster to call town hall and ask to speak with the manager, Gary, or Donna or Kalina will help too. So just to let you know, we're happy that you're putting things there, but it's not always going to be the fastest way to get to stuff. It's fine to complain. I mean, I don't mind if people complain. I complain on other sites too, but again, you know, it's more productive to contact one of us, and if you really want to get the problem solved, you're going to get it solved faster, or at least somebody's going to listen to you. One of my favorite things that a local person says, Kent Martin, who's the manager over at Lehigh, he always says, people don't like the information, but they like it when you're honest with them, and we will always be honest with you. So you can't read everything you post. I ignore a lot of things that are on there that are just not true that other people are saying, because I'm not going to get into an argument on Facebook with somebody. But just because another resident puts something on Facebook doesn't mean it's true. If you really want to get information, call the town hall, email all of the councils. Contact information is on Facebook, on the town website, and we'd be happy to talk to you. So that's all.
Thank you. And just to echo those sentiments, I think I'm one of the easiest people to get a hold of. And if you can't get a hold of me, call town hall, leave your phone number, I will get back to you right away. You send me an email, I usually respond within minutes, if not within an hour. So I'd rather you contact me directly. I like to think I have a good understanding of everything that's going on in town, but if I don't hear an issue, then I can't fix it. So please contact us directly. Any questions for Councilwoman Schultz? Community enhancement, Councilwoman was unable to be here tonight. Mayor's report, tab 5. Not because we have a big crowd here, but I think in my 10 years as mayor, this has been the busiest and craziest month with the water breaks and a lot going on. Water and sewer, I had a phone conversation, and this is where I'm hoping we get some relief. I had a phone conversation with Congressman Andy Harris. He is not our congressman, but I've met him a couple times up at the Tawnytown Business Breakfast. His staff had a booth down at the Maryland Municipal League Conference in Ocean City back in June. I stopped by. They said, what are your issues? I told them infrastructure, just like everybody else across the country. I said, we have financial hardships with our residents. He said, well, send the congressman a letter. I said, well, he's not our congressman. He said, it doesn't matter. He's on the Appropriations Committee, which is about the best committee you can be on. And then also, when I talked to him today about our USDA grant, which is $800-some thousand. It was the loan for 2 sewer pump stations that you'll see a nice picture of. And he's going to contact USDA and see if there's anything that can be done to help with our loan. And this is a follow-up from the letter I sent back on June 26th. Just if they could find a supplemental grant to reduce the loan, even interest-free. Right now we're paying, I forget what it is, about 2.88%, I think it is. So, and it's a 40-year loan. So over that, I think we would save $675,000 if we got interest-free. So he's going to contact them. He's also on the agricultural subcommittee of the appropriations committee, so USDA is under that. So I'm hoping that he can provide some assistance in one way or another. And then I also contacted one of our delegates, Delegate Haven Shoemaker, to see whether or not we can get some relief from Annapolis in the next General Assembly session. And under water and sewer, as you heard, I assisted on the 100 block of Church Street water main leak. And again, those guys did an outstanding job. Dealman Inn, I had a phone conversation today with Dennis Murphy. He's a very successful real estate broker in Annapolis about finding interested parties to renovate Dealman Inn. And he will probably be out either late this month or early next month to take a tour. This past Sunday, I was up in Hanover, and my wife had found a sip and shop event at Bourbon Bar and Grill. I talked to the owner, Chuck, and we got talking. I said, "Are you interested in expanding?" He said, "Yeah, sure, why?" And I gave him my business card as mayor, told him to come down sometime to take a look at Dealman Inn. He came down, he called today, he said it'll be down about 11:30, so I gave him a tour of Dealman Inn. He's very interested. So we have a lot of interest going on in Dealman Inn right now. And then also, Preservation Maryland, we are part of a Six to Fix project that we were awarded last year through Preservation Maryland. And the site plan for Dealman Inn, basically to show what businesses would work there and how to get those businesses open, should be done by the end of the week. So either tomorrow or Friday, I hope to have that, and hopefully I'll be able to put that on Facebook. Food desert designation. Now, I know this isn't a top priority for everyone, but New Windsor does not have fresh vegetables, produce, and I'm going to, with the council approval, do an application for us to become a food desert designation. What this would help with is if we were to take a look at property that's right outside of town, there's 10 acres, if that were to be annexed, possible grocery store, I believe there's funding for design and financing and different things to help bring a grocery store here. Impact study, I had a conversation with the Towson University with Michael Sears, who's the interim director of research at Towson University, to take a look at one of the projects, a possible indoor track at the former middle school property at the Springdale Preparatory School. What that would mean to the town financially, the income benefits, the traffic impact that would have on the residents. Right now in the state of Maryland, there's 6 colleges that have an indoor track team. None of those colleges have an indoor track. So we possibly could enhance people from colleges to come out to have track meets here. We could possibly try to get the Maryland High School track meet, indoor track meet, to come to New Windsor. Sounds great, however, with traffic and other impacts, just because I think it's a great idea doesn't mean that everyone else does. So what they would probably do, they're going to send me a proposal. They're looking at maybe $5,000 to $6,000. We have that in one of our categories under grants, so we could possibly use that funding. But they would do a survey of all the residents of not only for this facility, but they would probably include other things that are going in around town that you would like to see or change in New Windsor. So I'll keep you updated on that. PALS, Partnership for Action, Learning, and Sustainability. I had a conversation with Kimberlee Fisher, who's the program manager for PALS. It's part of the National Center for Smart Growth of the University of Maryland. I believe Councilman Hoffman and our Planning Commission Chairman Mark Schultz sat down several months ago with the team from the University of Maryland to take a look at everything that's going on with all the growth, what services do we have, what services do we need to meet the needs of the citizens, and how do we get there. So there's about 3 or 4 different priorities that I have. Anybody wants to take a look at them later, I can go over them with you. But mainly with the increase in population in the next 3 to 5 years, I feel like water and sewer, we're in really good shape. But do we need another restaurant? Do we need other shops, a bakery shop, coffee shop, different things? So what are your needs and how do we get those provided for you? And the military banners, you heard about that. Right now, I'm looking at a price of about $100 to cover the banner and the hardware. So I want to take a look at 1 or 2 companies' material that they're using, make sure it's strong enough that it'll hold up in windy conditions. Music on the Main, I secured a new person for the sound system as Steve Brandenburg, who did the sound system last 2 years, moved to the Eastern Shore. As you heard, we have the special event permit through State Highway Administration. And with town manager, multiple meetings with Gary over the past month regarding streetscape, water leaks, College and Blue Ridge Avenue project, water line replacement, the former fire hall, which we'll talk about later, and a few residents' complaints. Meetings, I won't call this a meeting, but it was the annual Talls Crab and Clam Bake where the governor and lieutenant governor show up, and I asked the governor to come out for our Musical on the Main, and then when I saw the lieutenant governor, I invited him as well because he was out here 2 years ago, had a great time. So it's a little early to say that I feel comfortable that the governor's coming because they don't really schedule events too far in advance, but I have hopes that we might get the governor to come out. Streetscape, our portion is about 65% design. That portion is to replace the water line on High Street and Church Street on Route 31. A few months ago, we were told, and we announced this at one of our town council meetings, that State Highway Administration, after working with those folks for 5 years, said that there's no funding for it. So I was very discouraged that during the past 5 years, we were assured that there would be funding. No guarantees, but we'd be assured. So I've had multiple communications with the State Highway Administration Administrator Greg Slater and also Mark Crampton, who's the MDOT Assistant Secretary of Operations, and Delegate Shoemaker is on top of it. So their portion probably will be another 2 to 3 years before they come in and start putting in all new sidewalks, retaining walls, curbs, handicap accessible ramps, and new paving. So they have probably 2 to 3 fiscal years to get the funding. It's about $6 million that is their share. So we will be working hard on that. They have what is called an MDOT tour in November where the Secretary of Transportation comes out and his staff, and we will also be working with the county commissioners to see that they put our streetscape project up as one of the top priorities in Carroll County so that it has a better chance of getting funded. Public safety, multiple conversations with our Master Deputy Galusi regarding property owner issues, National Night Out, and street closure. And I think you're going to hear some great things with the National Night Out. He's really going to have a lot there for everybody. So hopefully you pass the word and come out next Tuesday night, 6:30 to 8:30. Thank Kim for putting a lot of advertising on Facebook for that. So, and then with everything going on, we do have updates on our website of the College and Blue Ridge Avenue. Especially when water is turned off, we want our residents to know that. And especially when we had a major water break. You know, I made an announcement on Facebook, but it probably wasn't until like 11:30 when probably most everybody had gone to bed. So I looked into what Lehigh Cement Company does. They have an alert system for blasting at their new Windsor quarry, and they can set it up for us similar to what Lehigh has. and we can talk about this. I'll have a demonstration on my computer at our work session in August. But text messages are 5 cents per text per person, and emails are 1 cent per person per alert. So something that gets the word out there a little bit better, and something that we can think about. And that's my report. Thank you for sitting through that. Any questions or comments? All right. Community Deputy, Master Deputy Calusi, you're on.
We've got props tonight.
The Carroll County Sheriff's Office responded to 43 calls for service within the town limits of New Windsor between July 1st to July 31st of 2018. Out of those calls, 5 required a report, which are the following. On July 5th, at approximately 4:05 p.m., deputies responded to the 1200 block of Overley Way in reference to a malicious destruction of property. Investigation revealed that unknown suspects shot the side of the house with a pellet gun. This pellet gun keeps coming up, but anyways, approximately 13 times. Investigation continues on that. On July 6th, at approximately 12:53 p.m., deputies responded to the 100 block of Blue Ridge Avenue in reference to a check welfare. Investigation revealed that the homeowner was later found deceased within the residence by what appears to be of natural causes. Obviously, the investigation continues on that as well. July 9th, 2018, at approximately 1:30 p.m., deputies responded to the 100 block of Main Street in reference to a fraud. Complainant stated that unknown suspects contacted her by care.com in reference to a personal assistant position. The complainant further stated that the unknown suspects mailed a check in order to open an account with. The suspects then wanted the complainant to provide them with the bank account information in order to continue payment from the complainant. Complainant contacted the bank on what the check was issued, and was found to be fraudulent. At this time, the complainant is out no money, and investigation continues. On July 14, 2018, at approximately 9 p.m., deputies responded to the 100 block of Church Street in reference to a disorderly subject. Investigation revealed that known suspect approached the victim and began causing a disturbance at the location. During the disturbance, the suspect then spit on the victim before fleeing the area and returning home to the 100 block of Main Street. Upon responding to the suspect's residence and after further investigation, the suspect was taken into custody for the following charges: disturbance of the police, loud noise, disorderly conduct, second-degree assault. While on scene at the residence, the suspect's friend then interfered with the investigation and failed to obey several lawful orders to remove themselves from the area. Due to the second suspect's failing to obey lawful orders to vacate the area, the second suspect was then taken into custody for the following charges: obstructing and hindering an investigation, failure to obey lawful orders, disturbance of the peace, and disorderly conduct. Both individuals were transported to the Carroll County Detention Center without incident and are innocent until proven guilty in the court of law. Investigation was closed by arrest. On July 18th, at approximately 12:30 p.m., deputies responded to the 1200 block of Graybill Court in reference to a breaking and entering. Investigation revealed that known suspect entered residence after being trespassed from the property. Investigation continues. Other news. I'm aware of what sounds like possible gunfire being heard in the lower end of town. I will admit that the sounds are not gunfire, however, but fireworks. I have stepped up patrols in the area and have seen spent fireworks laying around, and have developed that I have been informed of 2 locations to watch out for. Please take note that a person possessing or discharging of fireworks is in violation of Subtitle 10-101 of the Public Safety Code and is guilty of a misdemeanor, and on conviction is subject to a fine not exceeding $250 for each offense. During the week of July 16th through the 20th, I was able to participate in the annual Camp Cops program held at the Farm Museum in Westminster. Camp Cops stands for Courage to be Outstanding with Pride and Self-Confidence. Multiple law enforcement agencies were involved from across the county, to include the state's attorney's office, Mount Airy Police Department, Sheriff's Office, State Police, Town Police Department and Westminster City Police Department. The camp is designed to bring a better understanding of law enforcement to the youth of Carroll County while working in the atmosphere of a police academy. Emphasis is placed on self-discipline and teamwork by participating in fun, challenging activities. The camp included physical and mental activities such as obstacle course, close order drills, martial arts, first aid, gun safety, team building, crime scene investigations, and several other law enforcement activities. During the 40-hour week with the campers, I had the pleasure to instruct the yellow team with Corporal Holland of the Sheriff's Office. Yellow team. Our team was made up of several juveniles between the ages of 10 to 15 years old. Campers were from all parts of the county, with couple from the areas of New Windsor and the Union Bridge. Over the week, our team worked hard through several obstacles, where PT, discipline, or in other words, physical activities such as push-ups, running, flutter kicks, mountain climbers, etc., was the outcome. Over the course of the week, as some of our team members would state, we are the best at PT, which then resulted in more PT. Over the week, I'm proud to state that our team, or out of the 4 teams and approximately 80 other campers, the yellow team placed first. Overall, it was a fun week, and each camper and team should be proud of their accomplishments. In 6 months, I will have to give this to Corporal Holland, which then I will keep this trophy. As we mentioned before, upcoming events. I'm just going to push this one out real quick. Food stock will be held on August 5th between 11 a.m. and 5 p.m. at the Union Bridge Community Center. And the event is in sponsorship of a Boy Scout Eagle Scout project, where attendees will provide a full bag full of non-perishable groceries in order to enter a music festival. It is understood that 5 local bands will be in attendance, and all food will be donated to the Silver Run Food Pantry. And with that, what happened was the Boy Scout, or the Eagle Scout, was in the process of doing he's been planning it for a year. Due to all the heavy rains, the venue canceled on him at the last minute, which caused him to move to Union Bridge. So with that, I do understand that the one band, 86 Bullets, actually just signed a record deal last week. So it should be a pretty good event. So go out and support him. Another event that's coming up is, obviously we've talked about it quite a bit, the New Windsor National Night Out on August 7th from 6:30 to 8:30 at the Carnival grounds. This year's event will host just under 40 vendors with a live demonstration, live entertainment, raffles, food, medication take-back, and much, much more. Some of the vendors that will be present for police departments. We have the Maryland Department of Natural Resource Police. We have the Carroll County Humane Society, Fire Marshal's Office, obviously the Sheriff's Office. McDaniel College is going to provide their Sydney car, which is their impairment cart for that evening. Maryland State Police, and then Baltimore City Watershed Police, which covers the reservoir down in Eldersburg. Special thanks for Elmer Wolf, the Judy Center, and Uniontown Bible for providing a face painter for the event. Local businesses have donated approximately 20 giveaways for raffles, including one for $50 for a gift card for a grocery store. And obviously the fire department is going to be doing a live demonstration of a demolition of a car. The Maryland Department of Environment is doing the drug take-back. The Masons Lodge is doing child identification kits that night. We have a moon bounce, photo props for a photo booth, and the Lions Club is providing food. So it should be a very, very good night. So please come on out and support it. So other than that, that's all I got.
Any questions? Come out next Tuesday, down to Carmel grounds, 6:30 to 8:30. West Carroll Rec Council, I don't see anyone. Fire Chief, Chief Coe was here earlier. He just wanted to remind everybody about National Night Out. They will be down there in full force. And the fire department has a crab feed on Saturday, September 15th, $45. So go to their website and or call the fire hall for tickets. They will sell out quickly. Town manager report, tab 6.
Okay, following is a brief summary of our more major significant projects. The wastewater treatment plant repair is complete. SBR tank number 2 has been completed, Mid-Atlantic storage replaced, 10 panels, and ART, Advanced Rehabilitation Technologies, did the spray-on liner for that second tank and was brought back online, I believe it was Wednesday, July 25th. So that project is complete now. The streetscape has been touched on a little bit earlier. Our engineer's working on 60% waterline plans. Jack Coe and myself have completed our review of the plans, and we have a walkthrough scheduled with GMB this Friday at 9 a.m., so you might see us walking around 31 High Street and Main Street there. So we're going to be looking at things, specific things with that related to that project. We're going to be looking, I don't know if Neal mentioned this, but in terms of possible funding, we're looking into the Maryland Infrastructure Program to fund a portion or a significant portion of that water line. So we're going to be reaching out to our contact there, who's Charlie Day, and requesting an updated project schedule from the engineer so we get a timeline on that. The Blue Ridge College Avenue project, the original water line and sewer clean-out project has merged with the additional water line replacement and water service lateral replacement that Councilman Palsgrove touched on. The weather recently has hindered their production somewhat, and unfortunately the long-range forecast is for much of the same. They did get a pretty good weekend this week with the rain. Mid-Atlantic Utilities, who's the contractor, who also helped us out on the water main break in a pinch, did a great job there. They've completed the water line bypass and is working on installation of the sewer cleanouts on both Blue Ridge and College Avenue. We should be receiving approval from County Stormwater Management and State Highway Administration very soon on the road portion of that. Arrow engineers is the engineer on that, and should be finalizing that design and everything so that we can get that project out to bid just as Mid-Atlantic's finishing up with the water line work there. We also have to consider the bidding phase and construction management phase of that project. So we have some original bids from Arrow for those 2 phases as well. The Snyder Summit project, the GMB, our engineer in the town, submitted comments to the design engineer the end of June. Engineers working through the agency comments, and all approvals are expected soon. Michelle Ostrander and I, our attorney, met on 7/25 and reviewed the initial draft of that Public Works agreement, and we're working to pull together the information and get that document to a point to where we can send to the developer for his review, and ultimately the mayor and council will have to review and approve that Public Works agreement for the Snyder Summit development. I touched earlier in relation to Public Works. At the last meeting, we mentioned radio communication equipment. the Public Works staff requested consideration to look into the purchase of handheld radios for better safety and connectivity while in the field in certain areas where you don't have cell service. We found out, Councilman Palsgrove informed us that the Brethren Service has 4 or 5 handheld radios that they are not using and are willing to donate to the town. And so we need to set up a repeater for the signal coverage there, looking at mounting it on the water tank for the best optimal coverage there. So we've kind of addressed that through a generous thought from the Brethren Center there. Also discussed last meeting about our meter reading equipment, looking to upgrade that. The software is outdated and no longer supported. So our suppliers, LB Water, that's where we get all our meters and things like that. They have a loyalty trade-in program that would benefit us and help us save some money on that purchase if we do the purchase within this calendar year. So I feel it's in the best interest to take advantage of that trade-in program to save some money and order that new equipment by the end of the year. So that's all I have on my report.
All right. Any questions for our town manager? Treasurer's report, Donna, tab 7.
Our balances as of the end of July are as follows. In the general fund, $86,575.91. General fund capital budget, $140,448.73. Enterprise fund, $360,256.91. Enterprise capital reserve in 3 Rs, $378,831.40. The developer fees balance account is $729,256.74. Money market fund, $37,513.19. And lagoon remediation, $199,171.65. Any questions on those? Real property, we have 15 properties for sale, and that's a misprint. That's 8 properties in the foreclosure process. Sorry about that. I will fix that. Water sewer, as of Tuesday when I come back from a mini vacation, late charges will be assessed the first round, which is the $20. And our annual audit, I'm doing the preliminary work that was submitted by our new audit firm. They request a lot of data before they actually even come out and do the field work. And they're planning on starting that the second week in September. So they assure me that we will still meet our November 1st deadline with the state. So I'm taking them at their word. Any questions? Thank you.
Just out of curiosity, who's our auditors?
I'm sorry?
Who are our auditors?
If you would ask me to pronounce it, I would have to pass. It starts with a Z, and it's about yay long. It's a new firm. We just went into a 3-year contract with this year.
Are they locally in Westminster? Or are they
No, they're from Pennsylvania, but they do other municipalities.
I'm assuming they've got experience in public auditing.
Of course, yes. We wouldn't hire someone if they didn't. Yes. Yep.
Thanks, Don. Lehigh report, don't see anyone. I do want to take a moment out back to my report, especially with the water break. Chief Tom Coe came down to Town Hall because I thought maybe he could find us some emergency contact numbers through the 911 center upstairs, and then he got the idea of contacting one of our local residents, Steve Strasburg, who's here tonight, who is a supervisor with the City of Westminster Public Works. we felt, maybe he had some contact numbers in case they do most of their own repair work. However, I was hoping that maybe he would have some contact numbers. I think at like 2:30 in the morning, he sent me a text message with contact information. So, I just want to thank Steve and the City of Westminster employee for helping out in New Windsor. So thank you, Steve. Residents' concerns. Scott, you're up.
My name is Scott Ingram, and my wife and I bought property in New Windsor down at 112 North Main Street. In 2005, we bought it from the Heritage Committee, I believe. It's right in front of the Sulphur Spring House. Spent a couple years, renovated the property, invested a lot of time and energy into building it. Basically took a dilapidated old building and rebuilt it. And the first year we had the property, we had a pretty bum tenant in, working with Mayor Sam Pierce closely. We resolved that problem, and basically my wife and I said, we're going to go through a little different route moving forward. So now all of our tenants that we do offer apartments to, we do a background criminal and a credit check. Again, we're looking for people that are going to come and take care of the property and be respectful of the town. But over the years, we've had several issues with the adjacent property, not necessarily the one directly adjacent from us, but the one across from us and the one at the corner of Gear next to us. The one across from us, a young gentleman named James and his wife Alicia live there, and they've been nice people. We talked to them since I did the renovations. And yeah, I believe you might live there too.
I know him, he's my brother.
He's your brother, right,
My
right.
brother, yeah.
And again, they've been very respectful and no problem, but it just seems like, and they've been there since we've owned the property.
Oh, we're soon moving, by the way, so.
Yeah, they're getting a house, buying a house, right?
Yeah, we're going to Union
Yeah,
Bridge.
and that scares the devil out of me right now, because there's going to be more apartments that are going to be filled by the same group of people, I think, that are on either side of us. There's a high turnover. They're very disrespectful. They don't have the little chimney bonfire. They have a 10-foot pit in the backyard, which the flames usually are up to about 15 feet when they have their bonfires. Riding mini bikes up and down Gear Lane at all hours of the evenings, fighting in the streets, arguing, screaming. It's just like the Wild West down there on weekends. I look forward to winters because everybody stays in the house. But we've had tenants move out over the years, and they love the town. They said it's just a nice little town, but they just can't deal with that disruption. We have a couple now, a retired couple, been here for 3 years, leaving at the end of this month, and they said they just feel unsafe now because it's just out of control. And that's what prompted me to write a letter, and I really appreciate Mr. Dye and the mayor being responsible and taking the initiative to do some of the things that I brought up in my letter. And again, it's way overdue. I really have kind of tolerated it, but it's getting to the point now that I think it's getting to be a disruptive situation in the neighborhood. I think the town is a great town. My wife and I plan on moving here in a couple of years and living in the house. But it really's got to be some changes. And again, I think if it's not a safe environment anymore in that quadrant of the town. Okay, he lives there, he agrees.
I do agree with that. Yeah, I do agree with that, yeah.
So again, my concern is, again, and we've had people that come say, after the first week, they say, we just can't even go on the front porch and sit there in the evening. It's just too out of control in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So again, I think, I believe the town is the way it's growing now, and I believe we all love this town. And again, I plan on living here. But I think really there should be some kind of charter that the landlord or the tenant or the landlords have to sign, really, to say that this is going to be a certain set of standards that they're going to have to start following. We can't just have people living that are disrespectful to the neighborhood and landlords that are continuing to keep that moving. So again, that's really my complaint. And again, the town council's been great about getting some of these problems resolved very quickly over the last week. And again, I just think we just got to start looking at that now for the safety of the town.
I really appreciate you bringing these things to our attention, just not tonight, but in the past couple of weeks. But hopefully you have confidence in our town manager and Brian Galusi that we are addressing this and we are going to tackle these issues. And
You know what, I don't write letters, I don't complain, but I'm just getting to the point now, it's gotten out of control. And you guys were very responsive. And again, I met with Mr. Dye within a week of sending a letter. He called me and asked me if we could meet. And we spent about a half hour and had a nice discussion, and things are getting changed. But again, now the outside appearances are getting better. The broken windows are getting fixed. The junk on the front porches are getting, the abandoned vehicles are getting towed away. But now we still got the element of the disruption, and I guess it's almost a safety issue now, I think, down that part of town, with the people crossing back and forth, and not, there's one place they have too many friends. And again, there's just too many people coming and going out of the back doors. And I go over there every week to mow the grass, and I just see it. I see, half a dozen people within 2 hours coming and going in the back door. So it just doesn't look good. And I think the town is really deserves better than that. So again, that's what I have to say. And again, I appreciate your concern in getting these taken care of.
we're working on it.
I appreciate that.
Thank you
very much.
Dave Johnson?
Somewhere in the last half hour or so, you'll answer my question.
All right, very good.
I have a couple of this, but I'll wait.
All right. Any other residents' concerns? All right.
I got
Yes, yes, sir.
And I didn't get a chance to put it on the agenda because I've been out of town and didn't know the meeting was tonight, until tonight. I had spoken with Gary a couple of weeks ago. I live in the reserve with a number of the people who were here, and I was one of the units that was affected over the end of December, beginning of January, where the water mains froze up and some of the meters fractured. When I spoke to Gary, I asked him what had been done to remedy it, and they said that they were bubble wrapped down in the vault. But it's my understanding that the vault itself was not put to the depth that code required by the county, and also that the cap along the top was supposed to be sealed to prevent air from getting down into the vault. Right. My question to you is, if this is a problem in the future, where, in my particular case, my meter actually fractured and had to be replaced. If that is to happen again in the future, whose responsibility is that?
Gary, have you addressed this?
I remember talking on the phone.
Well, actually, I met you in the office. I haven't,
Okay.
I'm dropping off the payment.
Okay.
For the water.
Yeah. Jack, you might be able to help me out here, but in the reserve, the roads themselves are private, I believe, but the utilities, the water, the sewer, the storm drain are the town's utilities. And typically, where the public-private demarcation or where it starts and stops is with the newer developments is at the meter vault, which is typically at the right-of-way or typically at the right-of-way of the road and or the property line. So, I mean, during the initial installation, the contractor is putting in that infrastructure, the public infrastructure, up to those limits, both water, sewer, the mains, the manholes, the laterals. I don't know, and not being here at the time when that subdivision started, but I don't know for sure how the final and semi-final process was handled with the development. In terms of, typically when the contractor goes in and does that, there's a semi-final and a final inspection that the town or the county does, that then they can go to the contractor and say, these things aren't right. You need to address them, and before final acceptance. Now, I wasn't here. I can't speak whether that process was followed. I don't know if Jack can elaborate on that a little bit, but I mean, when we go in, for instance, when we go in and do Snyder Summit, that's how the process is going to work. Under my tenure, there's going to be a semi-final and a final, and we're going to.
My understanding is that there was no final inspection done on those vaults. And So that leaves me with a problem as to what happens in the future if that meter ruptures again or the line ruptures.
You signed up.
That is exactly what Mr. Schaefer told us, because I'm in the reserve also. And several people had issues with their water meters. And Mr. Schaefer, when he came out, he said that there were no inspections of those of the vaults by the county or by the town. But he presumably, and before he left, he came up with guidelines for, going forward. They are supposed to be inspected to make sure that they are on the right level and they're being insulated properly, and
Right.
because he came out with his recovery, and I think with that, and they measured, they were measuring them all to make sure, and some of them were,
Real close.
they were, the vault itself came up to a certain point, but then there was a separate, there was a gap between the top of
Right.
the vault and, the bottom of where the cap was.
Mhm.
And I think Mike's concern is that, in whatever has been done since then, that's all well and good. But if it
Right.
happens again, whose liability, where's the liability lie? Because it shouldn't lie with us, with the resident. And what you're saying about right away, most of these water meters are in the driveway, or in the driveways or on our property.
Well, I don't know exactly where they're located in the reserve. Again, I'm not, and I don't know exactly what the right-of-way is on that private road. It's going to be, let's say it's 50 feet, whatever. Those aprons go out into the right-of-way. So typically, the placement for water meters and sewer cleanouts are on or about that right-of-way, which appears to be on private property, but it's the front property lines and the right-of-way of the road are one and the same, and that's generally intent of where they're supposed to go. I don't know.
My water meter is located probably 5 or 6 feet in on my driveway, past the sidewalk, in on the driveway. And most of them are that far in also. They're not closer to the middle of the road or.
No, they're not going to be.
Or even with the sidewalks.
Well, like I said, the sidewalk, is there a grass strip between the sidewalk and the road? And what is it? Does the grass strip lie on the road side or the private side?
You've got the road, a grass strip, sidewalk, driveway.
But you have your apron to your driveway goes through that down to the road, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
But I'm not talking about that part of it. I'm not talking about that part. Once you get past the sidewalk,
yeah,
or where the sidewalk would run if it was going across the driveway.
Sure.
Once you get past that, it's still up on the driveway.
It's still in further,
Yes.
beyond the
It's
sidewalk.
literally 5 or 6 feet into the driveway, up on the driveway,
Okay.
past the sidewalk. Most of them are. Some of them are in the grass. Some of them are also in the grass.
Okay.
Let me jump in here.
Yes.
I think this may help address some of your concern. Jack, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but there were two steps that were taken to try to mitigate the problem that happened up there with those particular 3 or 5 units that froze. Number one was our town public works guys went in and put some of this bubble wrap in to help insulate the space. And number two, did the contractor come back and sealed, there was a gap between the lid and where the vault started. And the contractor came back and sealed that up to try to mitigate the error.
I've still got, I don't think mine is ever sealed.
Okay, let's try to deal with that.
Let's assume that gets done.
Yeah, but we'll address that.
But that doesn't address the future if it fractures again or freezes up again.
The meters we will replace.
The town owns the meters. If they crack, we replace them.
But what if the lines freeze up? because of the incorrect placement of the meters in the vault.
Jack, correct me if I'm wrong, we did some temperature readings on there. We didn't find the problems down at the level of the lines.
Okay?
Okay?
Right, because I mean, I don't want to be a doomsdayer here, but, you know, if this is a problem that's going to happen every time we have an extended period of below freezing temperatures, and these meters fracture or the lines freeze up.
We'll follow up and make sure that these two steps that we have been advised to do are taken care of.
I know the bubble wrap is not.
Okay, well, let's follow up and check on the other as well, okay?
Thank you. Any other residents' concerns? Old business, 201 Main Street Park. Gary?
Okay, just a quick update. Last month, council approved Chris Batten, landscape architect, to prepare a concept design for the park for $1,950. Chris is requesting a topographic survey be done for the park property so that he can better do his design with elevations and what's existing in terms of utilities, walls, sidewalks, and that kind of thing. So the engineer who did the original exhibit that was done, just a sketch plot plan, did not do a topographic study. So I asked for a proposal from them, which I've received for the topographic study, and I also want to get at least one other price, possibly another price from another local surveying firm, so we can get the best price on that. But it's somewhere going to be, you know, $1,200 to $1,500 for the topographic study. So I'll provide the update on that when we get those prices. And then you going down the list there, Neal?
Yep, go ahead.
209 High Street, L1 building purchase. Last month, the council directed me to contact Mr. Steve Lorenz with Caprica LLC. He's the owner of 209 High Street. Donna and I met with Steve last Thursday on July 26th. He requested a formal letter of interest from the town. The letter of interest was dated 7/27 and emailed to Steve, and then Steve immediately turned around and sent a response letter the same day. So you all have copies of both the letters and information and documents, and details will be discussed later in closed session on that, more detail. Keep going. The future study, or the future pilot study, last month the council approved 4-1 to move forward with the pilot study. Donna, Kalina, and myself have had 3 conference calls and have spent several hours with Waste Zero and the county discussing what's needed from the town, the county, and Waste Zero to get the pilot up and running. By September 1st is what their original thought was on that for a start time. One important thing that we needed to discuss and have in place was a draft agreement between the county and the town before we move forward. And Dusty Hilbert's here with Carroll County Solid Waste. He worked with the county attorney to get the draft version started. We have that submitted, and the council here has copies of that that we can discuss and ask any questions. And Dusty is here to answer any questions that the council might have in relation to with the agreement. So do we want
Council, you have the MOU in front of you. I have a couple comments, but council, if you have any questions or comments. It's tab 8. Dusty, I have 2. One, under 1C, county agrees to accept revenue generated by sale of Waste Zero pilot bags as payment for New Windsor's disposal costs during the pilot. we're not going to see a savings until year 2. Because we're going to be paying, we're going to be doing debit cards or whatever you want to call them, gift cards at $15,000 2 times in 1 year. So there's $30,000 that we're spending. And yes, you're not charging us tipping fees, but you're going to receive some of that revenue. And to me, if the county really wants to make it happen here and countywide, I'd really like to see New Windsor agree to accept the revenue generated from the sale of the bags to help us give a little incentive. Our staff is going to take a huge hit with phone calls and complaints on a daily basis until all this gets smoothed over. And I think we should be compensated a little bit in that way. The other issue I have that's not on here is that if we exhaust our line item for trash tipping fees throughout this fiscal year, say we give the second card out and spend that $15,000 and something happens and we just say, hey, we're out of the program, and then we got to pay tipping fee again, then we're going to lose money. So once our line item, I'd like to see once our line item for tipping fee is exhausted, that we don't pay tipping fee for the rest of the fiscal year. And under 2, termination of agreement for convenience, I'd like to see the giving 60 days written notice changed to 30 days. Council?
I'll agree with all of that.
Now, if possible, and I know to get on the agenda with the commissioners can take some time, however, we will be meeting, let's see, what, that's the 19th probably, the 19th, the 3rd Monday of this month for a work session. If that can be back in our hands by then, it would be very possible for the council, 20th, to make a decision at the work session. But those are some things I'd like to have entered into the MOU.
Okay.
All right?
I have a meeting with commissioners tomorrow, and then the county attorney will have to weigh in on something as well.
Very good. Thank you. All right? Yes, sir.
This may sound strange. Do we have an option here, other than just taking our own trash to the landfill?
As in, you mean another hauler? Or?
As in participating, in this program, in this trash?
You mean individually?
Yeah.
No.
This is going to be the trash, this is going to be the trash program for you.
It's a pilot.
It's a pilot program. Pilot. It's going to run from September through
June 30th.
June 30th. It's supposed to be a year, but they got a late start, so if it doesn't work out, the council has the right to say, we're not interested.
And has anybody determined where we're going to be able to get the bags yet?
Yes, and that's...
For sure?
For sure. Well, I've already talked to Mohammed at 7-Eleven. He's willing to participate. Safeway, Food Lion, and Dollar Store, Dollar General, and Kenny's in Tonytown.
Kristen Brown with Waste Zero was actually in town today, and she was talking with some of the business owners in reference to their concerns, and then also met with some of the local places that will carry the bags and sell the bags. So Waste Zero is working on that. We, like I said before, we've spent a lot of time internally working with Waste Zero and getting them the information and commenting on the different, the designs of the bags, the letters that are going to be out, going to go out to to the locations that will serve that, or provide the bags, things like that. The flyer, they're going to do a flyer sent out with information on that. So we've been working with them very closely to get that information out. And, you know, Waste Zero is going to be very involved with spearheading this, and especially for the first, 3 to 4 weeks of the program, making sure that our new hauler Ecology is doing and having what they need and things like that. So
Yeah, because they had, they had some growing pains when we first started picking up the trash because of the holiday. And kind of ever since, it's been a kind of,
that they've been getting yours out the reserve now, though, right?
Oh, yeah, they get
Okay.
it, yeah.
Yeah, that was one of
It's
the.
just not, maybe as timely as Hughes was, but I'm sure that'll, even out.
Yeah.
And they may be doing the route completely different,
Yeah.
Well,
Well, the first day, the guy didn't even have his son's route, so.
And just while we're on that subject, I'm going to be, my contact with Ecology is Peter Osborne, who's the CEO. We needed within the office, we needed a reliable contact that we had, so that we could address any issues, missed pickups, things like that with them. We weren't getting a good response initially, so I shook the tree a little harder and ended up with the CEO.
Okay.
I said, look, I understand this might not be, you might not be the person that I need to talk to, but I need to know who we need to talk to, and he said, it's me. So one thing I want to do, and a good point was brought up, that we want to assure, regardless of whether we go forward with the pilot study or in the future, but just in general, we need to be assured that Ecology, when they take the trash and the recycling to the landfill, that we're not getting anybody else's trash along the way, because Ecology picks up for other municipalities as well. So we will get billed eventually from the county solid waste a monthly tipping fee, and in discussions with Dusty, I'm like, well, how do you know what to bill the town each month? And the guy, the drivers come in, they say this load is from New Windsor. So we want to make sure that New Windsor's paying for New Windsor's trash and no one else's. So I'm preparing an email to Mr. Osborne, so at least it's documented and sent and brought to his attention, and we want to make sure that we're paying for our trash and no one else's.
Thank you.
How much are these bags?
65 cents.
Small bag, 65 cents, and
$1.05.
large bags, $1.20.
$20.
Yeah.
How many bags in a box?
They come in sleeves of 5, I believe.
5 in a sleeve?
Yeah.
30 gallon for $1.20 a piece.
They're 15 gallon and 30 or 33, I believe, is the bigger one.
33 gallons will cost you, for 5, it's going to cost you $1.20 a piece.
Correct.
Okay, I go down and mark in the supermarket, I buy 30 gallon bags, 15 for $4. So this is quite a bit of money to the citizens of New Windsor, when we're already paying taxes to have our trash picked up. Well, my truthful opinion, I've always considered, my speaking opinion, is forget it and don't even take part of it.
But you will be getting $30 to pay for that.
How long is that going to last then?
Well, then if it's successful, then we can look at lowering taxes. So you would probably see a savings there.
No disrespect here, but I got to listen to that a little bit closer of lower taxes.
Well, if we can save $30,000, that's about over 2 cents sales tax, 2 cents property tax that we could lower.
2 cents, 2%?
2 cents.
2 cents per $100 instead of
$100.
Right.
So we're $30?
What's that?
What's the $30?
They'll be in a gift card.
Okay.
And you get one gift card.
No,
Two. So every 6 months to start
Well, we're
with.
going to split it up between, it was originally a plan for a year's pilot, but it's because of the late start.
Now it's starting, we're going 6 months now.
Well, if it starts September 1st, it's going to run until the end of the fiscal year, which is June 30th of 19. If we start October 1st, it's still ending the end of the fiscal year.
So probably after 5 months, now, we didn't want to give the full amount in case it didn't work out, and then, you know, we're out that money, that would be for our tipping fee. So
I'm not very good at math, but if I'm paying $1.20 a bag, and that's not going to last me a year.
But you got to keep in mind that the whole idea behind the program is that you'll use less bags. I mean, you actually put out less.
you'll use more
You'll put out
recycling.
less. If you recycle, and if you recycle the way with the list that comes out, and you do all the things that they're suggesting you do, you're going to use you put the recycle out in your recycle bin. You don't get charged for that. You don't put that in a bag.
And put your recycling in the back.
Yeah.
I had a bin to recycle, plus buy a bag, and put it all out.
Well, that's
Right.
The bins, you have the bin now, and the bin will be provided by ecology if you need one. They provide the bins.
Like I said, my opinion, forget it.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Yes, sir.
In Mount Airy, we started recycling about 10 years ago, and personally, my trash is going down to 60%, just because of recycling factor. So it's going to be quite a savings in tipping fees.
And to be honest with you, if we don't at least try this, I can tell you right now, and the county could probably back this up, those tipping fees are eventually going to go up. And that means taxes go up. So to try to get ahead of it, they needed a municipality to start a program. New Windsor stepped up and said, we'll give it a try. And I'll be honest with you, I reluctantly voted yes. And we have a council person that voted no. And I reluctantly voted yes. But I'm willing to give it a try because it is a pilot program and there is an out if it doesn't work. And I'll be the first one to stand alongside that council member and say I want out if it doesn't work. But you got to give it a try, because if not, the fees are going to go up. There's only so much space in the landfill that you have, and then eventually they're going to hammer the taxpayer to either build a new one or to figure out another way of getting rid of our garbage. So that's why reluctantly I did it, and or I voted for it. And that's not trying to justify what the council did. Again, I think that we're looking out to see what we can do to help. Not only, if you're on the side of ecology and you're on the side of saving the earth and you believe that recycling is the way, that's one argument. If you're looking at it from my standpoint, from a fiscal standpoint, that you're trying to save the town some money, you're trying to save taxpayers money, that's the reason that I reluctantly voted for it. But if it doesn't work, we're out of it. It's a pilot program through June. And we certainly are open for anybody's opinion once it starts working. But it's almost like when you have a child and they say, I don't want to eat that, and they've never tasted it. We got to try it at least. If it doesn't work, we'll be the first ones to support the town's decision to back out of it.
Yeah, comment?
Well, what are we tipping? Who or what are we tipping? This is a tipping.
The garbage.
The garbage.
Tipping fee, that's what the county costs.
You
That's
pay
what the county
per
charges us.
town, per ton. It's what, $64 a ton for the garbage. The less amount of garbage that we take out, the less tipping fee we will pay. It's called a tipping fee. So the more that we can recycle that we don't pay a tipping fee will save us money. That's the hope. But if everybody doesn't participate and give it a good shot, then it's probably not going to work.
So the government has a way of using little fancy terms like tipping fee. Let's put it what it is. It's a trash tax, period. That's it. Anytime you hear fees, it's a tax. So that's what the county charges us to dump the trash into that landfill.
And I don't know how many of you know this, but the largest single item in our general budget as a town is trash. There's nothing even close. It's the most expensive bill we have. So the idea is that if we recycle, if we take things to Goodwill, if we, donate things to a consignment store, there's going to be information that the town's going to issue from the future project to tell people all the things that you can do to reduce your trash. That bill could go away And we can either use that money, like the mayor said, to lower taxes or to maybe do some other things. And we'll talk to all of you about that when the time comes. But like Councilman Smith said, we thought it was worth giving it a try because it is our biggest bill and it is not going to go down.
To put that into perspective, we pay more for trash than we do for that deputy over there. That's how expensive it is. It's expensive. And it's only going to keep going up because there's only so much space in that landfill.
Okay? Yeah, okay.
One other thing. I talked to Trashira. Public Works from the county is going to be at National Night Out, so they're going to bring literature to National Night Out.
Oh, great.
There you go. There you go.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other old business? New business. Fiscal year 19 town-county agreement for mayor's signature. Everybody's familiar with the town-county agreement? Yeah, I don't think you have a copy of it.
No.
Just to break it down a little bit, this year, they start out with giving us $81,227. They give us road funds of $1,291, but then the agreement that was back in 2014 for the NPDES and the MS4 for the stormwater management projects that we just had done at Blue Ridge that cost us basically $17,000, $15,000, and it cost the county the rest. So you subtract the $2,887 and $17,779 for the MS4 part, it gives us a balance of $61,852. And I think Frank, Gary said, had budgeted $60,000. So a little bit better than what was budgeted. So do I hear a motion to accept the town-county agreement for fiscal year 19?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Hoffman, seconded by Councilman Palsgrove to approve the fiscal year 19 town-county agreement. Any comments or questions? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, more money. My presentation, I'll just finish these other two updates before we get into that. Well, the Veterans Banner Project update, I'll try to have everything finalized for our work session, but is everybody in agreement that we do this?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Snyder Summit, draft public works agreement is in process. Draft will be provided to mayor and council at September meeting. Gary, you mentioned that earlier. Anything else? Okay.
Have something in September.
And the rental housing section and rental housing application, addition to town code, update on that.
That's something I want to mention with what Scott added to what Scott was talking about. We're looking at, we don't have a section in our code for New Windsor that addresses the rental housing section. And in part of that, a rental housing application. So I'm working with, Don and I are working with Michelle Ostrander. She's also the attorney for Hampstead, Manchester. They do have similar sections in their code, so we're starting with that as a draft and then tweaking it for whatever we need. And so we plan, that's our plan, is to get that in the code, so then it gives us more leverage to enforce the issues with the landlords. So again, we hopefully will have a draft version for the council to review in the September meeting.
All right, well, I appreciate everybody coming out. I think most everybody here had seen the water and sewer presentation chronology that our council had mentioned this, that maybe if you had a better understanding of why we charge what we charge, it may not make it any easier on you, but hopefully you have a little better understanding. And if you have questions throughout, fire away. I'll try to go through as quickly as I can. But there were some comments on Facebook that they didn't want to see what had taken place. They want to see what was going forward. So I'll touch on that as well, but I think it's very important that you see things from basically 1964 to today. And I know that the cost of providing water and sewer service is a concern of all of the residents in town, and we just had a study done. We did one 7 years ago, and as I mentioned earlier, I will have our town manager look at that every year. And hopefully people understand that water and sewer is basically a business-intensive proposition. You have to have water and sewer. You can't do without water for, 3 days? But again, I'd like to take a few minutes to show this. This presentation will be on YouTube and also on Channel 23. The sewer started basically in 1964 with the installation of 2 lagoons and the sewer lines. In 2005, we got an initial report from MDE, the Maryland Department of Environment, notifying the town of new and stricter discharge limits, and that was basically to help bring the Chesapeake Bay back. In 2005 through 2007, Councilman Palsgrove and myself, I was on the town council at that time, we evaluated several new wastewater treatment systems. I don't know how many we looked at, Jack, you know, probably 10 or 12 different systems, from the most elaborate to one that would cost $50,000. However, all these new and better were not approved by MDE. We told them, great, you go get approval by MDE, you come back and talk to us. Well, they never did that. So we got a lot of education, I guess you call it, on wastewater treatment systems. That was the lagoon system. There are aerators in there to keep the water a little more fresher, I guess, less contaminated. In 2007, the wastewater treatment plant feasibility evaluation was completed by Dewberry, the engineering firm that designed the wastewater treatment plant. In 2008, we received the MDE inspection report that notes existing lagoon system will not be able to meet nitrogen and phosphorus limits, and that it has been unable to meet ammonia nitrogen limits to take effect, that were going to take effect in 2010. And I believe in 2005, we had a permit extension to 2010. And after 2010, we would have been in violation of the new regulations, which could have been major fines of like $10,000 a day from MDE and also from EPA. So we didn't have a whole lot of options. And in January 2009, Ed Palsgrove basically put this special information meeting. He had a presentation to discuss the new wastewater treatment plant and the impact of sewer rates. February 2009, I had a meeting with MDE staff, with, at that time, Delegate Elliott, Town Manager Wally Brown, to discuss the waiver and alternative funding solutions, and that meeting went absolutely nowhere. May 2009, Senator Brinkley sent a letter to MDE Secretary seeking a waiver to build the wastewater treatment plant until funding was available. The request was denied. December 2009, the notice to proceed was issued to Whiting Turner to build a new wastewater treatment plant. And this was very critical that we did it by December 31st, 2009, or we would not have received 0% interest. We originally started with 4% interest, which over a 20-year period would have been over $1 million in interest alone. We were able to talk a lot of times. I know Councilman Kevin Neal and I met with MDE Secretary down at Ocean City on separate occasions and said that, you know, we need some help. So we took it, they did at that time take it down to 1% interest, but we were still looking at probably $400,000 in just interest over a 20-year period. And eventually we worked hard enough to get the MDE loan for 0% interest. Other than a grant, that's about as best we can do. February 2010, I submitted a request for funding to the offices of U.S. Senator Mikulski, Senator Cardin, and Congressman Roscoe Bartlett. And both of those, all those requests were, I think, in the $9 to $10 million range, not only to pay for the wastewater treatment plant, but other projects that we had. Unfortunately, that was the year the Republican Party decided to eliminate appropriations of this type. So we were a year late on that. So at that time, we didn't know what the cost was going to be. January 2011, Senator Brinkley submitted a bill. I think it was an amendment to a previous bill, Maryland Water Quality Revolving Loan Forgiveness. Bill was struck down in a ruling by the Maryland Attorney General's office. We tried to get the loan forgiven. April 2011, Town Manager Schaefer and myself secured $550,000 supplemental grant from MDE to lower the wastewater treatment plant loan. The new amount was $3,858,474. This was actually before we raised the rates effective July 1st of 2001. So that actually, we didn't decrease anything because we didn't have to raise them, but we were able to keep it, maybe not big money, but $12.50 less than the original increased projection. June of 2011, the wastewater treatment plant begins to discharge treated effluent into the stream. In July 2011, and this is where it hit hard, I understand that. Sewer rates increased to make wastewater treatment plant loan payment. Base rate increased from $30 to $125. And that is the beauty of $4 million. Basically, the General Assembly session of 2012, I worked with Delegate Don Elliott, a New Windsor resident, and Delegate Maggie McIntosh, who was very instrumental and who was the chair of the Environmental Matters Committee, to secure $2 million supplemental grant to lower the wastewater treatment plant loan. In April, I made the announcement, and it lowered the sewer base rate by $50. In 2015, in the General Assembly session, worked with Delegate Susan Krebs and Delegate Maggie McIntosh, who at this time had been appointed to be the chair of the Appropriations Committee, to secure $1 million supplemental grant, again to lower the wastewater treatment plant loan, which then lowered it by $25 a quarter. And then in May 2016, two 52-year-old sewer pump stations were replaced at the cost of $939,694. And the loan was obtained through USDA, and I mentioned that earlier, that hopefully Congressman Andy Harris can give us some relief on that. And that is one of those two sewer pump stations that's down at the bottom of Main Street, and that is by Code Drive. Over the years, I think over a 5-year period, the original wastewater treatment plant loan of $4,408,474 has been reduced by $3,550,000. The three grants resulted in the town receiving about 80% cost of the wastewater treatment plant, which is, I think, extremely good, because even those, what they call the 66 big users, discharge plants, received money from the Bay Restoration Fund. We were not eligible for that because we did not discharge 500,000 gallons a day. We're under 100,000 gallons a day. But with those three grants, we were able to reduce the quarterly sewer base rates by $87.50. Now, the sewer base rates, how that is figured, the wastewater treatment plant loan, every quarter you pay $12.56. Sewer pump station loan, $15.03. The capital project reserve, which we call the 3 R's, which is reserve, repair, replace, is $20.50. and the operating expenses for the wastewater treatment plant is $46.91 for a total sewer base rate of $95. So I use 10,000 gallons per quarter because that is what we consider is the average use for a home, per home here in New Windsor. When we first started, it was around 12,000, maybe a little bit more than 12,000 gallons per quarter. So people have been reducing and conserving the water. But the total sewer base rate of $95 and the usage based on 10,000 gallons at $7.89 per thousand, $7.80, $78.90 gives you a total quarterly sewer bill of $173.90. Here's the water projects that unfortunately we have not at this time been able to receive any grants for, but that's what I'm working on now. In 2003, the Dennings well was brought online for $209,786. In 2004, we put in a new water tank at $1,030,895. A chlorine tank or the holding tank that's up on top of the hill off of Route 31. That replaced a reservoir, which the state of Maryland said had runoff issues, which had been up there for I don't know how many years. Jack, how many years? 75, 80 years. However, the state new regulations said we could not have open water facility. So in 2005, we put a chlorine tank in at $800,000. And in 2012, we rehabbed the older water tank that was put back, that was erected in the 70s for a total of $390,000. And that's the Dennings well, the new water tank, the holding tank or the chlorine tank, and the old tank that was rehabbed. So your quarterly water bill is, for the total base rate is made up by the Dennings well loan of $2.66, chlorine tank loan $10.15, new water tank loan $13.46, rehab water tank loan $8.29, the capital project reserve $54.33, water operating expenses $46.11 for a total base rate of $135. And you again use the 10,000 gallons at $3.86 per thousand, and the $135 and the $38.60 gives you your total quarterly water bill of $173.60. Now here is a list of all of our loans that we currently have and the annual payments. We are paying to the state and to USDA $162,995.41. And the interest rates are pretty low that we were able to garner with NDE. The sewer pump station is through USDA, and that's the highest of 2.88. It's still not bad, but hopefully we can get that eliminated or at least reduced. And there are the balances. We still have $2.2 million in loans, $1.4 million with NDE. So I'm trying to help reduce that this next session. Average monthly bills, this doesn't make you feel any better, I'm sure, but your monthly sewer bill, your quarterly water bill broken into the thirds. Sewer bill is $57.97 a month. Water bill is $57.87, and this is based on 10,000 gallons. Phone bill, and I use averages accredited to various websites, $80 a month. Electric bill, $107 a month. Car insurance, $151. Comcast cable, $211 a month. And you can do what you want with them. You can look at your own figures online if you want to disagree with them. However, water and sewer is still, I won't say low, but compared to other bills, it's I think, not the worst thing in the world. To finalize, I've been very aggressive and successful in securing over $4 million in grants. Part of that was the sale of Seibel's ball fields to Lehigh Cement for almost $700,000, of which we still have $200,000 for the remediation of the lagoons. And, it's a high priority for the entire council, staff, myself, to lower our town's debt and lower your water and sewer bill. And I'll take questions at this time.
I'm just curious. Does anyone have a $173 quarterly water bill? I
think I paid $390.
Mine was $410 for a family.
I have water saving devices on every implement in my house, rain barrels. I mean, I can't do it. I mean, there's nothing else I can cheat corners with. I mean, between water saving, you know, 2 kids.
That's just water, that's
Right.
not water and sewer.
That's just the one. The 173 was just for the one,
Just
for
water.
water.
You have to add the two together to get the whole bill. The
Right.
water and sewer. Then
Like
the-
$175 right out of the gate without even pumping 1 gallon, is that?
Yeah, but you have-
That's just the fees that we saw.
That's
That's not 1 gallon of water moving
No,
to the house.
it was 10,000 gallons.
Basically,
10,000 is the average, okay.
right.
So it was 173 and 173, right? If I remember
Basically.
Right, yeah, roughly. So,
And I'm not familiar with exactly what the metering is. The metering is the exact number, or is it
That would be
when they do the
346.
poll, or is there a guesstimation on the border with adjustments afterwards, based upon, or is there an actual? reading?
Actual.
Okay.
Actual readings.
That's the target.
Now, you know, maybe 1 month, our public works guy goes out the 30th of the month, maybe the weekend.
Oh, that's
is
a minor swing.
You know, so you may see some variation by a couple of days or something. You may not have 90 days, you may have 90 couple, you may have 80 some, but it's all going to balance out.
One thing I did find interesting, if I read it right, your reserve for water is higher than your reserve for sewer?
Yes. We have more water projects that they're really for the 3 Rs, the reserve, repair, replace, and reserve. We have more capital projects in the water than we do for sewer.
So, one of the things I wonder about is, you know, we want people to, I assume, move and come to New Windsor, you know, new development coming in. And, I know I just moved to the reserves, and this was not a cost we were aware of, you know, to the extent of what it would be. So I guess part of me, you know, I hear from other people in other areas like Westminster tell me what their bills are, and I'm wondering how this is going to impact the growth of New Windsor when people feel, and if they're honestly told, which, you know, I just feel like we were told that the water bill is like this, you know, but we weren't told about all the other fees. So I just wonder how this, you know, impacted. I don't know if there's an answer to, you know, or an answer for changing it, but it does seem, you know, that might have an impact on the growth in New Windsor and other developments.
Well, right now, the impact, you know, as mayor, I don't see a negative impact due to the fact that the reserve is, they're building them very fast, and they're selling them very fast. So,
We didn't know. I mean, many of us did not know.
well, I'm not going to take the blame for that because you can go to our website
Not your fault.
and put in gallons, and it'll show you how much your water bill will be, water and sewer bill will be. So that is something that the town is providing, so that if you are using 10,000 gallons at your previous home, you can take a look at that. You know, so
I'm just saying the builder with sales or whatever was not upfront about that in my situation. Because I did ask and question, and they actually, you know, showed us what they thought it would be. But they weren't including any of those other fees. They were saying this was your use of what. So, but now we know, and we tell new people who are coming in, and like you said, people are still moving in. That's good. But if I talk to someone, some people have asked me, what's the water bill? What's this bill? You know, that are considering moving. And I know I'm not the only person that's saying, well, just let me tell you up front, you know, what I didn't know. You know, not that I'm discouraging them from moving there, because I love living there. So, you know, but it's important financially, you know, especially if people on fixed income. So, that's my only, you know, issue with they find, well, you know, you have another new development coming in and young families coming in, and, you know, but I'm just curious if that is impacting the way that question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'd like to answer your question if I may.
Okay.
New Windsor, unfortunately, is the forerunner of these projects. And all of the other municipalities in the county will be following suit because this is all mandated by the state of Maryland. So even though Westminster's not paying what we're paying, they will all be there one day. Every other municipality.
Well, the advantage of Westminster, they have over 10,000 users,
Correct.
where we don't even have 1,000 users. So, you know, in the very beginning, I can't remember what year it was, I think when we received the $550,000 grant, it had to be approved by the Maryland Board of Public Works. And I went down and I thanked them. And I also had a plan, a spreadsheet, I still have it, that showed where we were going to be paying $125 per quarter per user for the wastewater treatment plant loan. Another town that was looking at about a $26 million project was going to be getting, I think, $16.5, $17 million. And over, say, 10,000 users, they were going to be paying $7 a quarter to pay off that loan. That's where I felt it was very unfair. And I had Delegate Elliott put an amendment to the Bay Restoration Fund that the fund be fair and equitable to all municipalities. And that did help us, I believe, get the last $1 million. However, I showed the Governor O'Malley, my formula that at best the paperwork was recycled, I guess, if it was that. But anyway, it showed where other municipalities that got the 17 million and we each pay $25 a quarter, I think $100 a year to improve the bay, which is basically what it was. I think everybody would have been okay with that. That, if the other municipality would have had to pay $25 instead of the $7, the state could have saved, I think, like $9 or $10 million, which could have gone to fund other wastewater treatment plant upgrades. I thought it was a sound program, didn't go anywhere. Actually, that was the year that the Bay Restoration Fund, or the flush tax, doubled from $15 to $30. And I said there wasn't a need for it, but Governor O'Malley testified for 2 hours with his team, and I testified for about 5 minutes, and didn't work. But I will continue. I think hopefully you see the track record that I have of going to Annapolis and working for you. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen 1 year. I've planted a seed back in January of this year, and hopefully we see the produce come to fruition in January, February, March of next year.
Well, you need to commend you for standing up and working so hard.
You know, I guess go ahead, Gary, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I just want to elaborate a little bit that kind of what Neal started to mention, and my experience working in the county for the last, give or take 30 years. These problems aren't just in New Windsor. These problems with water, wastewater rates, they're all basically enterprise funds. They all operate the same way. They're not uncommon in anywhere in Maryland and in Baltimore and anywhere else. Westminster, I know for a fact that they're obviously a bigger group of folks, but they also have a bigger plant. They fell into the higher production plant, so they're getting funding. But it's all proportional in the fact that you look at what Westminster's going to have to pay to upgrade a 5 million gallon per day wastewater treatment plant, what Hampstead is getting ready to do on basically a 1 million gallon wastewater treatment plant. Now granted, there's more funding available based on the size of where you are, but just keep in mind that the costs to cover these things are dispersed by the number of residents that live there.
But that's not right, because what about people on water, on wells, and they're on septic? They don't have to pay a damn thing.
It's private.
It's all online.
It's all private. It's not a public system.
Well, on Route Road where I live, directly across the street from me, they're washing their cars and they're draining their water down to our city sewer. And they don't have
Nah,
to pay.
the water does not go, water from private wells does not go into our sewer system. That's incorrect.
Have you ever considered charging every citizen in this town a base fee? Why do we have to carry this on our backs?
What's your question again? I'm sorry.
Have you ever considered charging every household a base rate to cover this expense?
That's exactly what we're doing.
That's what we're doing, base rates.
I mean someone on sewer or they're on septic.
They're not in the town.
That's not in the town limits. We have no control over people in the county.
We can't tax somebody outside of our town. I mean, that's illegal. I mean, you can't
What
do it.
also was not fair was when we were going through this process, the state of Maryland had, I think, $15,000 for private septic systems to upgrade. Does that sound right? $15,000, I think. And if you use that $15,000 times, at that time, I think 530 users, that pays for our wastewater treatment plant. Plus, I feel if you're a mile outside in the county, your sewer is going to be filtered by the time it gets to the bay. Where here, we're treating more water that would be more beneficial, but, you know, again, MDE didn't see it that way. But I think that fund has also run out. But they were paying single families $15,000, but then they couldn't help us. So I think that wasn't fair, but.
Right, but we cover the tax on our sewer to pay for the bay restoration funds. Those who are not putting anything into the system, who are the larger polluters, aren't paying anything into that bay restoration because they're outside the town limits. That's just not our issue, but the inequity of what the state's doing is we're all trying to clean up the bay. Those who are on systems, we're paying for it and using effluent. Those who are not on systems and not on effluent, who are the largest polluters, we're carrying them. So our rates are going to go up even further with this because that is not getting cleaned quick enough. 1,000 people carrying a large load. That's huge. I feel bad for you guys. It's a hard thing to give to the citizenry, but put yourself in the citizenry's shoes.
We're all paying that
But
same
we
bill.
we're all citizens. So we pay the same bills.
You know, there's been rumors over the years that the mayor and council thinks that water and sewer are free, but that doesn't happen. And what I was going to say earlier is that, you know, I look at everybody, you know, you talk about retirees who are on a fixed income, you know, low income or on a fixed income. I look at everybody in this town being on a fixed income. I don't care whether your family household is 50,000, 100,000 or more. Most people are still paycheck to paycheck families. That's just how we live. No matter we make more, we spend more. So my philosophy is, you know, I try to look at everybody the same. And my goal since I became mayor in 2009 was try to make New Windsor a better place in which to live. And I'm going to continue on that. And part of that is to get financial assistance. I will not stop until it happens. I hear no a lot, I don't, you know, but that doesn't bother me. I will keep going after that. Also, other towns, you know, that haven't faced this or have faced this also have higher tax rates than what we are. So we're in the middle of the county, other municipalities with our tax rate. So that, you know, if you take a look at your house and you're probably saving maybe $200-300 a year from other municipalities. Some would be the other way around. So we're not the lowest, but we're not the highest. So, but our biggest handicap is only having 570 users to pass on the bills. Now, as I said before, we get another 160 units built. That puts us up in a little better area where we can spread the debt over, so you don't have to pay quite as much.
Is the city going to incur any additional debt for these new units going in? 163 over standards?
As well, I mean, the developer has to pay for all the water sewer lines.
So there's no additional debt to hook into the new Windsor system?
The builder pays that.
I mean, there'll be more water that needs to be treated for use.
You don't have to get new equipment or access new lines or any of that. All of that, whatever it is that we need, is paid for by the developer in his building.
Yes. And then, of course, the users pay for the water they use. I mean, we'll have higher expenses with more treating of the sewer, but then that's paid by the user. Now, there is also, not to scare you, but we are, what is our system? Not SBR. SBR? BNR. We have a BNR, bacterial nutrient removal system. The state has funding, even though we just built this a few years ago, 2011, they have funding, 100% funding to upgrade to ENR, enhanced nutrient removal, which lowers the pollutants going into the bay. It's nothing we have to do, but it's something we're looking at. And while the money is there, 100% funding is the time to look into, and we have our engineering firm looking into it to see whether or not that's a good way to go. Eventually, I feel you're going to have to go to ENR. So instead of us paying for it, let the state pay for it. So we're looking at everything to save everybody money. I know that it's not easy for anybody. We do have, just keep in mind, we do have the option to pay monthly, which I think is beneficial to a lot of folks. You don't have to pay all 3 months at one time. And there are folks that have trouble making payments. They are more than welcome to call Donna. Donna will do everything she can that is possible within her responsibilities to help folks out. We're not the bad guy here. And then, you know, you also have the option. We could cut. There's been recommendations from a couple of council members to cut base rates for the 3 Rs. If you do that, in my opinion, you're going to pay for it later. You're not going to have that reserve, so when something happens or you need to replace something, it's not going to be there. You'll take a bigger hit then. Yes?
That $300 at Christmas time, would that be put into the quarterly, so it doesn't hurt so much at that time of year?
She's talking about the builders tacking on the utility fee. It's got nothing to do with this.
You talked to them about that.
That's something the builders have.
I didn't know about that one.
No, that's good. Shoot.
You got to figure out a different way to tax on an additional bill.
Okay, all right. I'll let you guys handle that one.
Is that something in the reserve? Is that what that is? That's something exclusive to the reserve?
Yeah, you'll probably see it happen over here at
Gotcha, okay, I see. Okay.
This is a bad time of year.
What did you refer, I'm sorry, what did
It's
you,
a front
front foot assessment fee? And that,
It's $300. We get a bill end of December, and it's due, they say whenever, but you know, there's a date on it. And it's $300 for the next 30 years.
In effect, it's a connection charge.
yeah, the county has a similar front foot assessment on water and sewer that is county owned in terms
If you
of
remember years
utilities.
ago, you would get a bill on your tax bill, you would see an improvement tax on there for a sewer connection done by the city or the county that you paid over a 30-year period.
Right.
You don't see those anymore because the builders said, hey, we can do that. We don't have to have.
Well,
And they tax it on it.
That's the private builder you're dealing with has exercised that option to
Yeah,
basically
exactly.
duplicate what the county does, because the county utility still does it. On any
But
county.
they're paying you for it. When they're paying, when they're hooking up, they've got to pay for it.
Well, there's an area connection charge, which we have and the county has as well. That's a large hookup fee for the initial connection to the system for the water and sewer. Then the county utilities does a front foot assessment, basically they call it, and it's a yearly tax on your tax bill. It's based on the linear footage of the front property line to the utility. And it's a 92 cent and 91 cent charge per foot. So if you have 100 foot of frontage for water and sewer, you get $92 and $91 a year on your taxes. That's the way the
Line item on your tax bill?
yes, that's the way the county utilities does it.
I don't see it on mine.
No, you're not. I'm saying county. County utilities for the government and for in terms of like Sykesville, Freedom area, any of the public utilities that the county takes care of. These are municipal, and you're dealing with a private developer.
Any other questions or comments? We welcome them. We appreciate you coming here tonight. Hopefully this was a little helpful. It's not going to ease the pain any, I know that. But trust me, I will continue working for you the best I can.
Thank you.
Couple announcements. National Night Out, next Tuesday, 6:30 to 8:30 down the Carnival Grounds. Lions Club Blood Drive, August 9th, that's next Thursday, at 2 to 7:30 down at the Fire Hall. Greatly appreciate you come down and see me.
You need appointments for that, or just walk?
It's better, but you can walk in. Food Stop 2018, August 5th, up Union Bridge. New Windsor Crab Feed, September 15th, $45 a piece. We have to go to closed session, but hopefully it'll only take about 5 minutes. We'll do it over here in the corner, so if you'd like to stick around and talk to us, it will only be about 5 minutes. So do hear a motion to go to closed session.
So moved.
Second.
Second, I have a motion to go to closed session to discuss acquisition of real property. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So carried. We'll be back in session in about 5 minutes. Thank you again.